down there and you're like feeling that, and then you start swimming against the current to get to the wreck, and you're swimming hard, and then your vision starts caving.
What's up, guys?
All right.
We got Steel on here today.
Steel Rockett. Yeah.
Steel Rockett.
It's our first guest.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
So your real name is Steel Rockett, right?
That's I didn't make it up.
God-given name. It's not like your wrestling name.
It's my natural degree.
I bet you have to explain that all the time. Don't you?
No. Yeah, that is my actual name. Yes.
So Beard, Steel goes with commercial spearfishing people all over the world, and he goes and he hunts with them, stays with their families, and he goes out and he does that kind of stuff by himself. He likes to hunt fish so much that the commercial guys are like, "Please come," and he kills a lot of fish and feeds the neighborhood.
Wow! So do you get paid? You get paid to do this, or is this more like a vacation type of thing?
So I mean, when I commercial spearfish at home, that's my job, and so it's like my collecting stuff, But when I travel, I never really make money off that. I usually lose money, but it's like not really about that. It's more about like that's kind of like my more passionate kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I love diving; it's my passion. But like true passion is to see regions I've never explored, like see different, like people, how they interact with the sea, how the sea helps them. The relationship they have with it. Just how many people can benefit from the skills they can, have just, going on the sea and, using them,
This is a generational thing too, man. Your father is like a well-renowned spear fisherman, like down in the Keys, George Rockett. I mean, he was on Zoom, for Christ's sake.
If everybody knew who the Rockets were.
Yeah,
the Underseas Dive Shop is basically a famous dive shop down here in the Keys. Believe it or not, it's a famous dive shop.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like basically in '69 we started my family started the first dive shop outside of like the Upper Keys. So the only one in Florida Keys outside of Key Largo, pretty much. In 1969, my grandfather and grandmother and my dad was about 6. Had the start of the dive shop, and then my grandfather made some of the first hookah rigs. Like not long after when some of the first ones were made, like he made the George Rockett hookah rigs, which are still sought out there to today. He made a lot of attachments. Like all sorts of spearfishing equipment. Scuba diving equipment. I remember he made things like interesting, like bayonets for spear guns and like things you'd never seen before, and like. It's all sorts of stuff. And then basically he was a big time diver, so was my grandmother. They would dive the Keys and they go to Sal back in the 70s, like just crazy pioneering, And so basically like
that is so cool.
my dad started, like collecting tropical fish and spearfishing commercially, I want to say like back in the 80s. And so basically I'm just carrying on what he did in a different generation.
Were you in the water before you could talk?
I know I can swim before I can walk.
Swim before you can walk.
Definitely.
But like, yeah, I could. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like I remember my first knot was tie a hook on a fishing knot. I remember that for sure. I'm just going off what I know here. I know I was spearfishing, or I know I was free diving at 4 or 3, and I know I was scuba diving at 5.
What?
Sure. I hit 80 feet and shot my first black grouper when I was 9. I hit 100-foot free diving when I was 16, about 17, something like that. That said, I haven't pushed it further than that as much because like I usually don't have to hunt past that, but like I would like to. But like that said, I'm not trying to give the idea that like I've surpassed that 100-foot a lot. But I'm definitely still hitting 100-foot solidly and shooting a fish down there as long as my sciences agree, of course.
He's incredible.
So when you travel, how do you hook up with these people? And then also, how are you perceived when you get there? Do they, You know, do they view you? Is your skill set a lot better than these people, or are you learning from them? Or is
I mean,
I
feel like we're always learning from each other, because it's like you go to a place like this and they got fish, even if they're the same species, you're in a different region. They got different, things that they're eating. They got different currents and tides and, salinity levels and all sorts of things. You know what I mean? Like every little thing makes a difference, I feel like. So it's like, I feel like you're constantly learning from each other for sure. So I can't really say I go there and anyone's better than each other, because I feel like I go there and the majority of the time I learn a lot about how to hunt in that region from the people of the region. And then at the same time, like, because I like trade trips with a lot of the people if they can come, in Florida ever. And a lot of times when they come here, they learn from me, especially, but I feel like it's constant, back and forth, I feel like when we stop learning, is when we stop, becoming better, or at least get that mindset, right?
Do they usually have good equipment?
It's incredible. Those people are like, it really like make you, be thankful for like the equipment you have access to, like I've seen some of the things they've made. It's incredible. Like they get like pieces of inner tubes and cut them and like create elastic bands out of them to create like, a gun going to like a shaft that's sometimes not even metal, like just something that they created, even like an antenna or something crazy. Like I see every little thing gets used. Like I was saying, a good example is like Guatemala when I was there. Like you look and like even there's flooring made out of recycled like bottles, and then there's like literally like
Very
roof
resourceful.
made out of mangroves. Like everything is like incredible. Like what is used and overlooked here. You know what I mean?
So what was that one story that you told me how you went down and he said it was going to be like 180 feet, but there was no bottom. You were like,
oh man, yeah,
on that one place.
I remember. Yeah, no, it's like there's no depth. Like, okay, so obviously there's people that have depth finders, but like it was in a country where it's not as accessible, to have like a nice system on your boat. They only had like a GPS, but they didn't have the bottom finder, so I didn't really know how deep the spot was. And I really wanted to dive it because like I love like going. My favorite thing to do in the ocean, it's hard for me to say that word when it comes to the ocean, but like is to just go somewhere where no humans have gone. And I don't know, like that's my favorite thing about filming a lot of these places too, is like you can, access that, show others this place without, putting them in danger. You're just putting yourself in danger at least and getting this incredible footage. So like I'm like, okay, show me this crazy place they're talking about that was out here. They're talking about it was supposed to be in 200 feet. And so of course I'm like, it's supposed to be a shipwreck 200 feet, so I want to dive this, but here's the problem. Them not having a depth finder and saying it's 200 feet, like, I was, skeptical, of course. So I'm like, how do you know it's 200 feet? And he's like, oh, I put 200 feet of anchor line out, And I'm like, all right, well, I also have a depth finder on my BC, So, like, I'm like, all right, well, I drop down on it, and I'm going. And I remember I hit, like, 180 feet, and it gets really cold. It's really, really cold. It's Pacific water, Pacific weird. Like, I remember I'm going down, and it starts getting like a thermo, cold, kind of dirty. And I'm looking, I'm like 180, and I'm like, okay, it's getting deep. And then I'm going, and a school of snappers comes up to me, and I'm looking at them, and I'm following them down. All of a sudden, I look, I'm at 230 feet, and I still don't see the bottom. I just barely see the black of maybe a wreck. I'm like, okay, no, I'm on air, there's not a decompression chamber for God knows how far, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have any oxygen anywhere nearby, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to go, that deep, like you're not supposed to go that deep, period, but let alone where I was at, or, what I'm saying? That was bad. So, like, I went back up and, like, but yeah, no, that was.
I'm glad to hear that, Steel. I'm glad your exploration mind wasn't so taking over you.
Like, I won't go past 240, and like I don't even recommend. Obviously, you're not supposed to go past 160, like on air. Like that's not, I mean, you shouldn't even do that stuff. But like I personally, when I quit myself in danger, I won't go past 240. But the funny thing is, like my grandmother will forever be the one that went 260. My grandmother got the family record.
Your grandmother?
Yeah, my grandmother went 260 in case out.
What?
No way.
So she'll always own that one. That's
I
crazy.
didn't know that.
So
Yeah,
cool.
that's crazy.
That's awesome.
Was that on purpose?
They're on a wall.
Wow.
So kind of. She was with my grandfather, so both her and my grandfather. But yeah, no, like that's. I mean, I've down that deep, like especially past 220, especially 217 specifically, it is very intoxicating. I mean, poisonous. Like I'm talking like it's hallucinogenically. Like I mean, it's very like you got to learn how to like not pull out of reality when you're under that narcosis. It's crazy. Like I've heard stories of like people just like trying to break the 300-foot mark on air, and they just go crazy and they keep swimming. And then their friends are like watching them swim away, gone. Crazy. Like you lose, it's weird. It's like a mental thing with narcosis, big time. It's crazy. Like if you're on a shipwreck and your mind is something to cope with and focus on, or a reef or something, you're good. But when you like miss the wreck and you're on that, usually it's sand, most of the time, most of the sea, I mean, in this region especially is like the sand. You're like looking and like it's weird. You'll like almost get these black dots in your vision, and like you get tunnel vision, and it'll start caving in. Like my dad went even like blind from it and had to like it's crazy. He had to drop 3 giant Warsaw groupers and swim up because he actually lost his vision, because that's what it'll do. It'll eventually like cave tunnel vision in until you're It's crazy though. Like it's weird though, because it's like the tunnel vision doesn't start though when you have something really to focus on as easily. Like I don't know why that is. It's like hypnosis in a way, Like the white sand of nothing to see. You're kind of like your eyes are rolling back. Does that make sense? It's crazy.
It also like lures you in. Like it just seems like it's not that far away. You're kind of like, oh, just keep going. It looks all right. You don't realize the space between you and that sand.
And the colors down there are just like the clarity, and like it's all sometimes it's a blur. It's just like a mind,
Like you kind of like go into like a like like out. You just kind of like start losing it when like when it's all sand and there's no wreck, no structure, just like especially like anything like even a fish would help you. Like if you just missed that and like you're trying, like let's say it happens too, because it sucks. Another thing is too, it's a combination, and it's a combination of that and moving, and like working yourself. So like imagine you missed a wreck. Common thing is like you'll miss the wreck. And you're like, okay, let me pull out my compass and see which way, north is or something, And you're down there and you're like feeling that. And then you start swimming against the current to get to the wreck, and you're swimming hard, and then your vision starts caving. And if you don't know any better, I swim upwards a little bit. I'm like, okay, let me get some, less poisoned oxygen into me, So I start, my vision starts coming back and my feeling better, But like, if you don't know any better, you'll just keep going until you just like cave purple, your vision gone. Weird.
Wow.
That is no joke.
That is no joke. Tricky thing down there.
The wreck's right there. I'm almost there. I'm
Do you ever hunt inside the wrecks? Like you go inside an old tanker or something down there, and you're actually inside.
Dude, he does the scariest shit you've ever seen in your life. I'm talking about. I'm going to send you the footage of it so you can see it. But he's going through just mountains of fishing lines and steel cables. He shoots a fish in there, and then he's got to get that fish out of there, and he's got to get out of there alive. I mean, it's nuts.
It's insane.
One of those cables get caught on you, and you're fighting a fish, and then you get wrapped up. You ain't getting out of there. You know what I mean? You can't cut that cable fast enough to get.
Steel cable, it sucked. Like it hog-tied me with the steel cable, and all I had was like this. I was like, okay, like like hog-tied like this, but I mean, like it was similar. It was like similar to that, but not like this. It was like this, like and the cable around me was like 100-pound amberjack, and he's kicking me in the side, and all I had was my knife like this, and I had to keep yoking him like this until I finally got to his brain and unwrapped him. Because the thing is, he was like it has steel cable, so I couldn't cut it. Which I like the steel cable because same reason, it doesn't cut. I've had fish cut 400-pound monofilament and laugh at me basically, cabera snappers and stuff like that. But when I use that stuff, it's good. But then that's the drawback, is that when I want to cut it to save myself, you can't cut it. You get cutters, but even then it's like,
man.
Yep. Even then it's like sometimes you can't get access to them, or they rust up after so many dives. I still bring them, but I'm saying like I don't always have them on me. But the thing is, like I time everything in my head. I feel like when I do my deep dives, it's all equations to me. Like they say the last fish is what always, kills you. You know what I mean? Like takes people out. That's the one that that's the saying is like that's gets you.
Yep.
But like if you just how to explain it. Like, it's so hard to do. I'm not saying I'm even perfect at it because it's so hard, especially if the last fish is something incredible. But if you can learn the equation of how long everything takes in your head and like, you know, yourself and like all, I don't know, for me at least, it's all like an equation of like, what if, you know, like what if I hit him here? What if I hit him here? What if I hit him there? Like, it's all going on for me, you know, and I put that equations all into one when I do my dive, you know, like timing, you know,
Right.
what gun I'm
Versus
using,
stoning a
so many
fish.
factors. You know?
Like if you're down there and you stone a fish, it's beautiful. You stone it. You know, stone means you stuck the shaft, boom, hit him in the spine of the brain. But if you don't stone the fish down there, that fish is going crazy, 150, 200-pound fish. You got to deal with that. Think about that. The thing is just got hit with a fire stick in him, and he's the heck out of there.
Well, the fish
So,
are like deer either and
it's
stuff.
super
Fish,
complicated.
all the time I'll shoot them and blow their heart out even, and they don't have a heart. And they'll fight me for minutes, like multiple minutes. Like I'm talking sometimes 5-10 minutes without a heart. Like they're not the same. They either need to lose their spine or lose their brain somewhere. You know what I mean? Like you need to sever the connection, either one of those, to kill them. It does not work with the heart. They will keep going. Like it's crazy. Like a Kobe is a good example.
Right.
They'll shoot them, and they'll actually spin and twist, rip the spear out of them, rip the body in half. They're like, I don't want to get too gross here, but like disembowel themselves, and they'll just swim away. But like, good example, what Mark was saying though is like that's a good example of the equation. Is like before I'm coming up, I have X amount of air. There's a big amberjack right there. I have one of my guns is loaded. Is it the gun with the reel or is it the gun without the reel? Okay, if it's a gun without the reel, I know I either A, need to stone him if I don't have my decent amount of air left, or, you know, B, don't shoot him at all pretty much because it's cutting it close. Or if I have the reel gun, for instance, if I, you know, don't stone him, then it's more lenient, so that way I can actually get decompressed and let him fight himself while he's on the reel. See what I mean? So it's like these are all these part of all those equations. You know what I mean? You can't think as well down there too, so the equations will get blurred the deeper you get. Sorry, blasting at that.